10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NXT Round Up. I am one of the hosts, the dad bod god himself, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight I am joined by a very, very special guest who's joining me for this episode of NXT Round Up. He is former professional wrestler. He's a producer. He's a coach. He's a ring announcer. He's a commentator. He's done everything in the business is to do. He is the one, the only, the future shock, JT Robinson. Welcome, JT. That deserves a round of applause. I think you do. Thank you for joining us.
The good news is I was not good at any of them. So, and as people are about to find out tonight, I'm not very good at doing recaps of shows. So we'll see how we go.
Hey, man, we'll get through it. But, you mentioned earlier that you haven't watched NXT really consistently for a while. Like, have you mainly just been watching spots? Because I'd imagine, like, obviously, a couple of people that you had a hand in training, Grayson Waller and Persia Pirotta, that you'd be obviously seeing what they're doing. But NXT as a whole, how long had it been since you've seen a full show of NXT before this week?
Probably since I did the change, really, to be honest. Since the format sort of changed to NXT 2.0. I watched the first couple of shows. It's not necessarily because of the product change. It's more this time. My time of watching things are limited. I still try to watch as much wrestling as I can, but being able to fit it in with your kids and full-time work. And also, like, there's so much wrestling out there at the moment that, it's hard to put it all in. So, yeah, I just try to watch the bits and pieces that I want to. And
I watch NXT every week, and like if there's an Aussie show on a streaming service like PWA, MCW, or FWA, something like that, I'll always watch that to support friends and the Australian product. But whenever I sit down like on a Saturday night, there's no shows on, or I'm caught up with NXT and Aussie wrestling shows, I find myself going on independent wrestling TV, going, I don't know what to watch. Like, there's so much there. It's like, it's overwhelming almost. But man, as far as this show NXT, like we'll do an overall recap and then we'll go into it. But like, what do you think of the show overall this week?
Yeah, like it's good. Like I see a lot of stuff online where people are saying because of the change, it's not what it used to be and that sort of stuff. But it's the kind of wrestling show that I grew up on as a kid. The matches, the wrestlers were, and the wrestling in ring action was fine. That was just your basic bread and butter storylines, but it's telling a story. It's something that's going to make you go back and watch it next week. Like, they did a really good job building next week's show. With all the title matches coming up. So from that point of view, I am a new viewer to NXT, coming back, or a lapsed fan, you might say, coming back and seeing that and the build for next week. It's like, oh, okay, look, there's a lot happening in NXT next week. Maybe I'll watch the next episode. I think that's the point. Like, WrestleMania is normally a restart for all their brands, and it's definitely doing that.
Yeah, I mean, this episode, and I've said this before, I've watched NXT week in and week out for the last few months, JT, and as an overall product, I find it's some weeks it's good, and then there's other weeks that I just sit there and I'm just like, man, I struggle to sit through it. And sometimes it's the little things for me, like certain camera angles when they're doing, like they're going for a 3 count in the ring, then they span to the crowd, and it's, I mean, I get when things happen and malfunctions happen and wardrobe, all that sort of shit. I get that, but for the longest time, it was almost every single week they were having these little things where it's like something's happening in the ring, like a big move, but then they're like looking at the guy standing on the thing waiting for a tag, just, you know, spitting and wiping his snot off. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, there's certain things of it, but I feel like this week was absolutely a first-class show. I thought it was great. There was a couple little moments in there which I just went, you know what, I don't think that really the live crowd got it, but we'll get into it. Braun Breaker opened up the show, and they've only just recently acknowledged this, had this guy acknowledge on television who his dad is and who his uncle is. I think, you know, without a doubt, as far as his weekend for WrestleMania, I think he looked great. I think he definitely had a strong showing. This week coming out, starting off with a promo, very typical babyface champion promo, I felt. You know, getting interrupted by Gunter and Imperium. Gunter's a guy, Walter, if whatever you want to call him. To me, honestly, I think he should be on Monday Night Raw and should have been there a year ago, to be honest. I think he's, you know, having him in NXT, you need someone like that on Raw. I think he would be a perfect fit to go up there. Imperium, putting those guys there, I can see why they're in NXT, but I think eventually putting them with him up there. But I think he's definitely a guy that should be on the main roster at the moment. But he comes out, you know, has a little bit of a back and forth promo. But what do you think of the opening of the show?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was good. I think it's just a really good way to intro to new fans. Like, you know, they've had all those new people come in, and I'm sure many of them stuck around and started watching NXT this week just to give it another chance. So I think between Rumble and Mania is where people like me that don't watch consistently every week come back and start watching a show here and there, and they know that, you know, we're still got that WrestleMania buzz. If you can have it after all the 100 shows that were on this weekend. But you know, we're still got WrestleMania buzz. So I think the way that they opened the show was really good. Like, it tells a story straight away that, you know, Braun won the title the night before, gives a bit of legacy because most of those Lapsed fans are, you know, for whatever reason, they target people my age instead of, you know, people 20 years younger than me that watch their show. But you know, like, all the 40-year-olds are going to remember the Steiner brothers and that sort of stuff. So getting out the way and saying, you know, I'm a link to them, not that you can't tell from the gear that he wears. And, you know, just coming out and being a solid champ and being like, you know, I beat these guys, I won the belt. And then having Walter come out, like, you're right, he should be on Raw, he should be on SmackDown, should be a star. But I think, you know, how much of that is himself not wanting to wanting to do that.
Well, he didn't want to come to the United States, I heard, for the longest time, and they were like, yeah, and I think, to be honest, like, changing his name to Gunter, and I've said this before to, I think, Chris Gale, and he didn't agree with me on this, but I think changing his name to Gunter was kind of like, hey, fuck you, pal, you left us here hanging for over a year to get you to the United States. Yeah, do you think that's kind of a way to stick it to it, what they're doing backstage, legal thing?
I don't know. I reckon, like, there's a lot of bad sense you can do in wrestling too. So who knows? It could have been a real. Like, you know, the one thing I wrote down in my notes was, because again, I haven't watched NXT for a while. It's like where he came out in the opening segment without his jacket on, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's just calling Gunter enough now. Yeah. Like, they don't want to overdo it by having him wear the SS jacket that he normally wears to the ring. So, you know, it's like, I don't think the name change was that. I think the name change was more they just want to own it. You know, they don't want to market it and have him end up going to, you know, AEW or anywhere else and make the name Walter and be able to use it. It's probably a good sign, but he might end up on the main roster at some point too if he wants to go there. That way they own the name and they won't be afraid to push him.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's definitely the positive way to look at it. And look, to be honest, I think you know, Gunter, you know, as far as promo goes, the way that he speaks is very short, distinct, to the point, direct. It's not like, yeah, even when he talks, it's very like almost bullet point, right? Like he gets the message across. He doesn't have any fluff around it. There's no bells and whistles with him. You know, the character's there, but I just think, is he gonna? If he was a babyface, could people get behind him?
Yeah, but like, I don't know if his character is designed. I don't think, and I don't think at any point, like, it would be a babyface because the fans appreciate the work. I think, like, more so than the company pushing him as a babyface. Like, it's kind of a hard sell to go in there and say, hey, this guy here, he resembles someone we might have seen many years ago. But we're going to make him a fan favorite and come out and slap hands with the kids. I don't think I've seen that from Gunter, but I think to the extent, but like, his character doesn't support someone to come out there and do a 20-minute promo. It supports him being straight to the point, just badass, like, one-liners. Let's get to the fighting is more his style, I think.
He's almost like a German Clint Eastwood in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's a good analogy to put it to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the feeling I get, and to be honest, I like it because it's like there's not many characters out there that are just their promos are short, distinct, to the point. Like just put the message is clear. You understand as a fan watching what he's trying to put across because he's telling you straight, clear as day. But after that whole thing, we've just seen the Creed brothers versus Imperium. Creed brothers come out. Like every week I put over the Creed brothers. I think these guys look absolutely phenomenal. Their style, their technique, their size. I just think of like how WWE has booked tag teams over the years. Is their best years going to be in NXT?
Yeah, like it was interesting, right? Because I think it's probably the first time I've seen him. Like, obviously heard about him and read the reports and all that sort of stuff. Like, I still follow, I just don't watch. Yeah, but I think it was cool, like just to see that, like I know there are ass kickers and that sort of stuff, but it was also cool to see some of the old school wrestling, like you don't see gator rolls being done as a regular move on wrestling, so that was pretty cool to see some of that. And yeah, like they just look like the kind of guys that just want to beat the shit out of you. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Like yeah, it's an interesting thing with tag teams there. Like you look around, especially AEW, which I do still watch pretty more regularly than this. They've got an awesome tag division at the moment. And then it's WWE want to look at it and go, hey, tag team wrestling can work, where they hadn't really put a lot of faith in it in the last 30 years really. They just use tag teams designed to split people up and create a few that way, rather than going, hey, these guys can be actually over as the top performers in our company.
Yeah. Well, I think that they probably just look at it as a way, tag teams to build up, singles, what I mean, like to build up feuds. We've seen it over the years, and even in this match, it looks like we're going to see it with, with Imperium looking like there's a split there, which to me, I kind of felt that to be a little bit of a weird way to have it split, because they seem so regimented and stuff like that it seems out of character for one of them to just walk away. Like if they're going to turn on the other, you'd expect it to be more of a violent, like a violent way to turn on your partner. And that to me, I was like, huh?
Yeah. Like, I guess, like, again, without seeing anything, if there's been anything that's built up to it. Hey, man. Without seeing anything that's built up to it, if there's been any build to it in the last few weeks or not, like it seemed weird. Like it seemed like, probably week 4 of a storyline, not week 1. So I don't know if that is week 4 storyline or it is week 1. Like it just seems weird. Like it doesn't, if you look at the landscape of their company and what they're doing, it doesn't look like it's a great move to split up that tag team. For either the guys, so it'd be interesting to see where it goes. If there's other plans to bring someone else in, or what that might be. But again, it's got us asking.
The only thing that they've really done, JT, is like they dropped the titles at Stand and Deliver to MSK. But like what I mean, like there was no big moment in the match to me that would justify the turn. Like even if it was like after the pinfall, he just walks away shaking his head. That makes a little bit more sense, because it's not like it's like sort of like the seed,
Yeah, what it seemed like, and it was really hard to tell because, like you touched on it earlier, the camera zoom in and out. It's really drove me nuts. But I think that was a spot where it was hanging upside down. That something was meant to happen. I don't know. It looked like it. Maybe it's me.
Is that when they did that, and then he did the drop kick off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they missed something on the camera, or something was supposed to happen, and that's when he walked out after that, and the announcers popped to something, but like you can see it. So maybe that's me just watching too much wrestling. And thinking, that's what it was,
that's what I was saying earlier, though, man. Like the camera angles and stuff like that, the stuff that they do. Like sometimes I watch the product and go, how is this a multi-billion dollar company that's that's putting this out there? Like it's You know what I mean? Like, it's not the performer's fault. It's almost like the production lets the ball drop. I don't want to say the whole show, but pieces.
I can't blame the production. Give me after the weekend, and I see how I do with the show I'm producing on the weekend. Then we'll tell you a shit. But yeah, like it just seemed like that was a weird moment there where like something was missed and like that contributed to the story. And like you said, it just weird that he just walked straight out like that. As someone who hasn't been watching the past events, and even that, yeah. But yeah, like it was cool, but I just don't know what it's going to mean for him. But we're talking about it, so you know, is that a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's always something to spark up interest and stuff like that. Because let's face it, like they're Walter's tag team. You know what I mean? Like when they're cutting promos together and stuff like that, like when they're talking in their native languages, that's cool. Like I think Eichner is Italian and Bartel is Italian and Eichner is German or Dutch, and they do promos in their native languages, which I think is cool. But when they do the promos in English, which I get they have to do in English, but like I just go, oh man, when they're speaking Italian and Dutch, it sounds so much fucking cooler. I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds.
It's going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. But we saw then a Toxic Attraction interview backstage. What do you think? What do you think of Toxic Attraction? What do you think of their backstage segment?
Yeah, like again, like not having a history of it. It's weird to say. Like I saw like bits and pieces of the matches from Stand and Deliver. It looked good enough. Like I hear people get trashed and stuff like that, but from what I can see, like it looked like it's an interesting gimmick. Like it's not something that I go on my way and be like, oh yeah, cool, it's there. It's like people playing wrestler or anything like that. But it wasn't anywhere to that level. But it was definitely something where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's not like the must-see thing of the show.
Yeah. To be honest, I just don't see like Dolan and JC Jane with Mandy Rose. Like it just the fit to me, it just doesn't seem right. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like Mandy's out there and presenting herself as a champion and how she talks. She's like, yeah, I'm the baddest bitch in NXT. I'm this, I'm that. And then these guys are like acting like you're a loser. And you know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck? It doesn't make sense. It's like, it's just like the group doesn't make a lot of sense all the time.
Yeah, like it's just an interesting thing to see what it is. Like you've had Mandy who's on the main roster for years and coming in there and now working with these guys. So like obviously they've got a plan on what they want to do with them, and having that again, I like trios. Like I like trios, whether or even foursomes. Like it, I think it's good. You can tell really good stories with it without having to, and as long as you've got a strong leader. But yeah, I get what you're saying about that promo, because like the other two were definitely at a different level to where Mandy was. But they haven't been around as long either, right? So this takes time.
Not in the level that Mandy's been at. Mandy's been in WWE for, I'd probably say close to 8 years, maybe 2015 or something. And you know what? To be honest, I think this run in NXT has probably saved her job in WWE, because I think this is probably the best run she's had.
Might be, but I reckon her job is going to be nice to say for a while.
You reckon?
Yeah. I don't think she's on the chopping block anytime soon.
Yeah, but she wasn't really doing much before she came to NXT, though.
Yeah, but she speaks really well, and has the look that they really like. Like the first time I ever saw her, I thought, it's like 20 years later, Trish Stratus sort of thing. Like, and they get her out of a lot of promo and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't think her job would be at risk. Like, she's not. I'm trying to think of the nice way to say it. Like, so it's not like you're going to be there and she's not going to be like the best technical wrestler in NXT, but like she's someone that people are going to see on TV and be like, oh, okay, I'll check this out. Guy or girl, we'll check it out and go, hey, yeah, all right, cool, this is interesting, this is. I mean, I think that's the whole point of her being on NXT, because they're trying to stop trying to market to people like me sometimes and get people that are younger and try and get them into it, and they'll look at that and go, okay, these cool, who are these girls? Let's have a look and get some story.
Yeah, look, I get it. I think she's got a great look. But, to me, I just feel like this NXT run has definitely given her, I don't know, like it's given her more depth in her character than what it was before. Like, we saw the run with Otis, and then little bits and stuff in between then. Oh, after
Probably
then,
more
I should say.
focused. Yeah, probably
Sorry?
more focused. Probably more focused. Like, she's not getting a 2-minute segment, either doing a 2-minute match that doesn't mean anything, or like I said, those kind of gimmicks. Like, it's actually a serious portrayal, giving her a chance to actually run with the ball. So I think that's good. It actually shines a different light on there. So, like, we're saying about the good look, like, you're not just there for the good look, you're actually getting it now. Like, you're a main star, you're a main eventer. We're going to give you some TV time, not give you the 2-minute match before the main event, sort of thing. So I think that's
absolutely. Oh, I think it's great. Then we saw another promo, and this is another thing with NXT. I find it's like this show. I actually timed it. It was actually 40 minutes, and we'd seen 2 matches in 40 minutes of a 90-minute show, JT. But I get it. Promos are all there to build to the story and everything like that. But we saw Cameron Grimes in-ring promo. Out there saying he's done it for his dad. Very sort of heartfelt sort of promo. His dad actually used to wrestle with the Hardy Boys, and was part of Omega Wrestling back in the day. And obviously his dad was in the business. I think his dad did like matches on like Superstars back in like the early 90s.
I used to watch him.
I can't remember what his actually ring name was, but he was in there. I thought Cameron Grimes is another guy. He came to NXT. I feel TV ready. You know what I mean? Like, he'd been around, he'd been on pay-per-view, he'd been on weekly television. And NXT, he's been there for a couple of years, and I think really now this is the time they're sort of giving him to sort of shine. And I think he's a talent that is, again, like a Gunter, who is you could probably put on a Monday Night Raw, and he could be entertaining television every single week. But I've enjoyed his work. I prefer him as a heel, but that's just the personal preference because I like arseholes. But I thought
here I am.
Yeah. But what do you think of his work and his promo?
Yeah, like I haven't seen a lot of him. I didn't watch him on the news much either. So again, this time wise, not nothing against him. But yeah, like I thought, like, I got the gist of the story and all that sort of stuff. What was interesting is, like, it's, if you think about what was on Raw last night with Cody, it was the same sort of deal, right? Like, my dad wanted to be champion. I'm going to win the belt for him, that sort of stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, they always double dip, and I'm sure this one's just by accident. They probably weren't expecting Cody to come in when they started setting up the whole storyline. But yeah, no, like, I think he did well and got it over and that sort of stuff. I think what really hurts the NXT is the audience sometimes.
I agree.
Because, like, they were they just want to be part of the show. I get it. As far as with their chants and that sort of stuff. But, like, he's doing that heartfelt promo. Hey, I did this for my dad. I won the belt for my dad. And then you got people doing the "you deserve it, no you don't" chant in the background. And it's like, like, I get you want to try and do that, but, like, and hijack the show and sort of stuff like that. But that's not being cool ages ago. So
I get the shits. I get the shits when I'm at shows and I'm like there sitting in the audience, and I hear someone just like either like there's someone doing a promo, there's a match going on, and they're trying to shout shit out to be funny in front of their boys or their friends. I'm just like, man, think about other people here, bro. Like, we don't want to hear your shit. You know what I mean? Like, these guys
are
tough,
right? Like, because, like, it's really tough as a performer too. Like, especially on national TV, I wouldn't expect them to react to it. But at a live show, like, you used to be able to just get them and bury those people to death. But if you do that now, you're a police. You can't really go back at the person that hard unless you've got really good material. Like, if you're a crackerjack, you can probably do it because you can do it in a funny way and hilarious way to make the crowd come to you. If you go out there and you're just like, oh, shut up, you dickhead. You're probably not going to win to anything later. But no, like, that was the one thing I noticed. That, like, I thought he was doing that really good promo and all that sort of stuff. And when that came out, I did like when Solo came out, but, like, again, the same thing with Braun. They don't really always acknowledge the history of all these people that they've got on there and that sort of stuff. And then just when Solo came out and dropped in the Bloodline reference.
That's what I had there as well about that. Yeah. But there's a reason, because, like, they're not acknowledging they're no selling all second and third generation stars, besides obviously who's on the main roster now. But because they've got one of the is he one of the Bevleys? One of like Von Wagner. Yeah, he's and who else? Bull Buchanan's son as well as in NXT.
Like I like, and no disrespect to them, but I sort of get those ones there. Like if you're like, hey, you know, I'm doing that, but like, you know, Braun, it's the Steiner brothers. Everyone knows the Steiner brothers are top stars. Like the Bevleys were as well. Like they were sort of like, you know, middle to top, like for tag team divisions back then. But like the Steiners are big stars. Like you know, Roman and the Usos and Rikishi and their family. Like it's a massive family. Everyone knows that sort of stuff. So it's going to add some more lineage to it. Saying, you know, and again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the other guys, but like if you say, like, you know, you're saying if my kid became a wrestler, it's like, okay, yeah, cool. Who gives a shit? Like, sort of thing. And that sounds really disrespectful. I'm not trying to be. But that sort of thing. Like, if you're a top star and you've got that top guy reputation, why wouldn't you go out there and acknowledge him? But hey, like, this is the guy, sort of thing that did that. And the other guys are like, okay, cool. Like, it's not as big of a deal. It's not going to help him as much.
Yeah, well, look, you know, I've spoken to a couple of second and third generation stars over the last couple of years. And who was it? I think it was actually Primo Colon, who was Carlos Colon's nephew, who was in WWE for a long time. And he said, man, being related to someone with a name gets your foot in the door.
Yeah.
It doesn't close in your face. It gets your foot in the door, but there's always a level of expectation, even if you've never been in the wrestling business, that you pick it up like that. Yeah. And he's like, I've seen guys that just come in second, third generation. They just couldn't pick it up quick enough, and they just went, see ya. But anyone else, they get the time of the world. He goes, but there's a lot of expectation on you.
Yeah, like it wouldn't be easy, regardless of whether you know that's Hulk Hogan or Barry Orton. Barry Orton. You know, like it's going to be there, but like, and that's saying anything like you should. But you know, they're a national TV company. They're so worried. Like sometimes I just feel like they're so worried about making stars because in 10 or 15 years those stars are going to leave them. They give up all the money they're going to make in that 10 or 15 years using those names. It's just a crazy thing, but that's my wrestling philosophy.
But that's the thing now in WWE, they're not looking to make big name stars. They just want people to come to the spectacle, which is WWE. Because like, and I made mention on this, I think a couple of weeks ago on another show, is like Asuka was off TV for 3 months and no one fucking noticed. And that's not a diss on her. It's just that they have so much talent there. They have so many performers there. Oh, well, you're out. Okay.
Yeah, it's been their thing forever, but they want to market the brand. But I guess it's like, I go back to my heyday era, like with Rock and Austin and all that in the late 90s. You know, they became big stars, and if you watch what happened, they all left, and then they had no stars. So rather than going, okay, cool, we're going to get a good 10 years out of some of these guys and push them to the moon, it's like, we'll just push one guy. So he's big enough star to be able to do it. And you know, like that's the thing. These second generation guys, like, you know, is Solo going to be a bigger star? Like, probably a little bit. Like people know, the hardcores know, but on national TV, they're going to be like, oh, that's Roman's cousin, or that's the Uso's brother. Yeah,
I mean, when he first debuted, they were chanting, like the crowd was chanting Uso at him and little Uso and stuff like that. And it's funny because he looks like a killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, does he look like someone who's on the level of a Roman Reigns? Probably not now, but maybe in 5, 6 years, maybe, or depends who's really looking at him. But like, to look like that level of a star, like I think Roman Reigns has probably only really started to get and everything sort of flowing on all cylinders in the last couple of years, really. Because I think it takes a long time for it. But look, I think Solo Sikoa coming out, dropping the bloodline comment and the reaction from the crowd, I thought it was really good. And even the interaction, because it's like a babyface match. So it's like, how do you really get behind it? I felt like the little pull in at the end looked a little bit awkward. Like it just looked a little bit thing. But again, man, this is NXT. This is where these guys go to learn how to be performers on, a Monday Night Raw and a SmackDown and be international superstars. So I think, criticizing NXT is hard because it's like, this is where they are to develop these skills.
Oh, for sure. Like I used to watch AEW all the time back in the day. Like I used to get tapes and over, and DVDs when you can get them. and used to follow it all the time. And it was like, you could just watch people like the same sort of, and they're still telling the same storylines in the show. It's just on national TV now, which is different for international TV. But if you watch it just for like a fun 1 hour or 2 hour wrestling show, it's really easy to watch. If you're going to go in there and try and pick it all apart, you're not going to enjoy it. So why bother watching it, really?
That's why we do this show every week.
Mate, I'm trying to be very nice in my comments.
Look, honesty is the best way to be. Just be honest about your opinion. Like I said, we never really bury anyone on this show, but honesty is definitely there. We see Joe Gacy and Harlan doing a promo. To me, this was like everything made sense with him and his promos throughout the show, because I'm going, fuck, man, they're giving this guy a lot of like TV time this week. And I'm like, hang on, the promos seemed almost Bray Wyatt-esque, a little bit darker. I've liked Joe Gacy. I've followed his career while he was on the Indies. I think he's a great worker. And I really think this character is something that he's really evolved and made it his own. But I did get a feeling, I think, in the second promo that he did of the night, where it just was like, oh, this sounds very Bray Wyatt-esque in the sense that I have no idea what the fuck you're saying. It sounds cool as fuck. I just don't know. You know what I mean? And that's where Bray Wyatt, he'd do a lot of these cool promos. You have no idea what he's saying. And it's like these different meanings. But what do you think of Gacy and also and Brock Lesnar Jr. that he has by his side?
Yeah, like that was the thing when they relaunched NXT. Like I watched the first couple of weeks and he was there and he was doing his inclusionary and all that shit. And I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be interesting, because like you could just tell, like it's just the guys in the back going, let's fuck with all these fans, and like the whole like let's all be inclusive and all that sort of stuff, just trying to get about. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you knew at some point it was just going to snap, and it was going to be like, I'm a hypocrite, I'm full of shit, sort of thing. So I really like the character. Like I said, I haven't watched the last few weeks, but I'm assuming he's still like he's just developed and got it a bit darker, that sort of thing. With from what I can see, that the big dude behind him being sort of his muscle and his heavy. But yeah, no, like I like the character. Like I think he cuts really good promos and that sort of stuff. Haven't seen much of his work other than those first few matches, and I think even then, like you were saying before, it's the developmental space. So he probably had like not a massive amount of matches before they put him on TV here. But like I love the gimmick. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, it's kind of thing I did like with Bray Wyatt, but as well, like just overexposure on the promos, like just do one really good one, but then they brought it together at the end. They did the reveal.
Yeah, I thought it told a good story. Harland, the big bald dude behind him, he's been marked as like the next Brock Lesnar, and that was before he was even signed to a WWE.
I saw the photos of him before they shaved his head and all that sort of stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, this will be interesting. But we'll see.
Oh yeah, like I think like I've seen he's only had like a couple of matches, and the way that they worked his matches were perfect, because he's not come from it. I think he got signed less than a year ago.
Yeah.
And like his matches are just him squashing guys, and just but that's the thing, his skill level. Do you really want to see him go in there and try and do you know what I mean? Like do something that's going to expose him? I think that the way his matches are planned out, he's not exposed at all.
And that's what I thought was really good. Like that was a criticism that I heard about the entire show, but like, it really exposed the people that can and can't work. And maybe it was just a good night. But there wasn't really much of that I could see on there. Like, everyone was like, more than capable of what they're doing based on the matches that they were given. I didn't see anyone, having any major screw ups or anything like that. So, and that's the kind of thing you do with a guy like that. If you've got this big jacked up dude, like let him have those kind of matches, and then if they're doing non-televised matches, that's where he has his longer matches and starts letting it work rather than doing it on there.
Yeah, and I think that's and we'll get on to Sangha, who's with Grayson Waller later, because I think that they did that with Sangha a little bit. He had a match against Eli Drake, and they had Grayson on the outside of the match, but it was not a good match. And you know what I mean? Like Eli Drake can work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think having Grayson on the outside as a distraction took away from it. But even then, it's like certain things when he's gotten involved, I've gone, ooh, like he looks big and impressive. He looks cool. But yeah, that
I think that's it. But like, I think like that's what I was saying before. Like those kind of guys, like better there, like they're attractions, right? So like, you can't have a million of them. You can probably have a couple of them. And they always put them together for some reason as well. So you got two big dudes fighting. I get it, but like, yeah, you're better off keeping them apart. But yeah, they should be kept to a minimum amount of work, regardless. Even if they're the best wrestler, even if he turns out to be, if he's like Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair, because of the size, like yeah, you want to keep the short matches on TV until he actually builds that big match and means something. I think like having Grayson out there to play that role is good because then you can take away like while he is learning, you can distract away from it. But yeah, I can imagine it not being the greatest.
yeah, like it was yeah. But even Eli Drake, you could see him in the ring when he was wrestling this Sanga guy. He was just like going, yeah, he can work. And like to me, like I think he really carried the match. But when you're that big, when you're wrestling someone that big, I think when you're trying to control it, like you could see he was like trying to move him in certain ways, and it was just like dead wood.
I've been there before. I've cried in my hands during a match, and it's bad when I'm the person carrying the match. But you know, everyone's got to learn.
100%, man, 100%, dude. Yeah, 100%. But then we see Zion Quinn backstage with Draco Anthony after the Gacy Harlan promo. So, bit of backstory for that. Draco Anthony's kind of been tormented by Joe Gacy. Gacy's trying to recruit him to be part of his new stable, and Draco saying basically "fuck off." Zion's trying to give him this guy a bit of support, and again, this spot it was almost very childish because it's like Zion's going, "Hey man, don't get your head down," and it's like, "Don't tell me what to do." So, okay.
So my question to you, Piers, is which one of them's going to turn? Who's joining Gacy? Is it going to be Zion or is it going to be
to join Gacy?
Yeah,
Zion makes the most sense because of the darkness of the character. But you know what? It'd be pretty cool to see Draco do it because he seems like a clear-cut baby face. So see him do a complete change and makeover. I think Zion would transition easily into that, but they flirted with him joining Legado del Fantasma, and he didn't do that. So it's kind of like, hey man, it's WWE booking, so you can't. What makes sense tomorrow doesn't make sense yesterday. So
again, like I don't follow it religiously, but I still get a gist of what's happening. And the first thing I thought when I saw that is like, all right, is Zion going to be like he's coming to babyface? Hey man, I'm here to support you, sort of stuff. And then he's going to turn on him and join Gacy because he got spoken to badly. But I just got a feeling one of them will join. So we'll come back in a few weeks' time and we'll see if I got that right. But I reckon one of them will end up with him.
100%. Then we saw Duja and Index, the video package from Stand and Deliver. So I'm gonna let you.
Newcastle Pro Wrestling show.
Sorry?
It's like I was backstage at the Newcastle Pro Wrestling show watching that, obviously without all the kissing, but seeing all those guys in the one segment.
What did you think of the whole WrestleMania thing with this Duja versus Index, like the storyline, so to speak? Did you enjoy it? Is it something that you went?
Like I don't frown at stuff. Like I think it's just fun. I think it's stuff to get other people that don't want to see people roll around in the ring in their underpants and wrestle. It gives them something else to look at. Like it's a bit of a storyline. Wrestling's always been a bit of a soap opera / sports event. And they're not overdoing it. Like it's comically funny, the fact that the way they're doing it, and like I know 3 of the people in there, but it's comically funny watching how over the top they're going with it. Like so, it's not over the top. Oh, this is terrible. It's over the top. Like this is funny. Like what's going to happen?
It's
next?
Ridiculously funny.
Yeah,
but you know what? It's funny because it's like when certain things, like you see. How it's done, like Indy is one of those characters. It's like she's very similar, like how Cherry Stevens is from PWA, right? That awkwardness, but it's like that endearing awkwardness that you get from it. And it's like, even when she did the heel move and pushed the foot off the rope, it's still like that didn't get a heel reaction. It's like, I think she's very endearing to the audience. The storyline, I think that having the rift between these two, considering how less teams they have in the women's division in NXT, and even in WWE, like the women's tag division is like almost non-existent. You know what I mean? I just think, is the split of these two right for now? Could you get more longevity? Could you get more mileage out of them as a team before the split?
I reckon, like, and I don't talk to any of them, but like regularly, so I don't know any. I've got no inside gossip, but I reckon, just looking at what I watched today, they'll end up together, and it'll end up being the dudes that are leaving, because they'll be. Yeah, for sure, 100%. I reckon it'll either be a switch. I reckon they'll be the switcheroo, or possibly, or I reckon the guys will get sick of their shit, and they'll end up, the girls will end up back together and teaming in.
Yeah, right.
Because like they're doing it in a really good way. Like they're doing it in a way, but it's not like, it's like you can see bits and pieces there where you're like, oh, they should really hate each other, but like at the same time they're doing it in an innocent sort of way as well. Like it's just like, I just want to be, I'm the better person. Well, no, I'm the better person, sort of thing. Not like,
it's almost like that sort of competitiveness with a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's the feeling I get from it.
But I liked it. I was entertained by it.
Yeah, I just think the love story angles, like they've just done it with Indy, and then they tried doing it again with Zion and Elektra Lopez, and then, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like the love romance angle, you've done it once and did it really fucking well with like Indy and Dexter Lumis. Leave it for like 6 months to a year before you do the same angle again with other, you know what I mean? Like trying to like, I think with the whole Index thing, they struck gold with that. Yeah. And I think that was completely by accident. It's like, fuck, we got nothing for Dexter to do. Hey, Indy's over here. Let's put this together and see what they do. And I think that both of them absolutely killed it. I just think the love romance angles don't necessarily have to be a week in, week out kind of deal.
They don't, but I think like I said, the way that they're doing it, like I think it works out really well with it gives, if you look at what Duke was doing prior, he had a bit of a feud with Cameron Grimes and that sort of stuff, but it was still hit and miss on what he was doing, whereas now he's a prominent character on the show as part of this angle, as is Persia. Gotta look at the names because I'll put there once. But yeah, like I think I reckon it's I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the highlights of the show. And again, it might be biased because I know them, but like forget it was them. But like I really think that it was one of the highlights of the show. Just watching the way they put it together, and it wasn't over the top. And I get me, you don't want to do the same love story angle all the time. You probably just need one. But yeah, no, I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. And
the only reason I said that is because they did it so well, and then trying to recreate that.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're recreating this one. Like I think they're going to do it. Like I said, like if I'm watching it, and again, I could be completely wrong. I like the fantasy book sometimes, especially when I watch something. But I'm interested to see where it goes, just based on the way that finish ended. I can see, like, and I know Dexter plays the cool, calm, like never bothered by anything sort of character sort of thing. He's just, the macho tough guy, silent type. Yeah. But I could see it coming down to something with him and Duke being like, why are we doing this to each other, sort of thing, and then either they ditch the girls or something happens. But I'm curious to see where it goes. So like that's good, right? If I'm NXT and I'm booking it, that's the kind of thing I want, because I'm going to tune back in next week. Probably not, but I'm going to tune back in next week and try and see where it goes to.
Yeah, man. Look, I honestly thought it would be cool to see Persia and Dexter turn on Indy and Persia. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that would be like, that's kind of like attitude era type of booking, really, isn't it? It's that. And there's sort of
like, if you look at what they're doing, some of it is like, we're talking about Mandy before and all that sort of stuff, making her a prominent character and that sort of stuff. And there's some of the storylines that I've been hearing, like, and reading about and that sort of stuff. They are sort of like pushing that line a little bit to be a little bit more edgier. And they've got a smaller audience, so they can do it. Like they can't go on Raw and be 2 or 3 million people watching it and then go in there and do. They can probably do the angle they're doing with Pleasure and all that now, but they couldn't do push the envelope as much as what they do.
I agree.
I think it's good. It's interesting to see where it's going to go. Really interesting.
NXT has definitely over the last few months really pushed that envelope, and we've seen little things and nothing too outrageous, but the stuff that we have seen is kind of like you've seen Shrek, right? And like the Muppets.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It's been from stuff I've been reading and listening to, but they're doing adult humor, so the adults will get it, and the kids will think it's funny, but they won't understand.
Yeah, like the kids will laugh because like the parents are laughing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they'll just I don't know what that means, but that's the thing. But that sort of humor is very hard to do, and I think the NXT do it well.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be so. There it is.
Their development stuff has always been really good for that. Like I know they don't like to do they do that humor on the main roster, but I still remember to this day, like it's got to be 20 years ago now when they had Brackus or one of the big muscle up head guys, and his whole gimmick was he's addicted to coffee, but he was obviously steroids, and he'd go around trying to find his coffee, but it was obviously steroids because he's a big jacked up dude and he's roid raging because he hasn't had his coffee. And there's stuff like that. They have really good humor sort of stuff in that sort of stuff. And I'm seeing bits and pieces in this show. It's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. But we briefly touched on the Dexter Lumis and Duke Hudson match. Man, you know what? Duke Hudson, I'm glad they stepped away from that poker gimmick and the gambler man gimmick.
Yeah.
Because it's like this guy looks like $1 million, and you want to look as far as presentation of a professional wrestler. This guy looks like a superstar. You know
Absolutely.
I mean? He's got the body, the way he speaks. He's very articulate. Again, someone who could go onto a main to main roster and be a top heel.
Yeah, like as someone who's been plenty of locker rooms with him and played lots of Fortnite with him, he's a great shit talker. And and also his look alone, what is he, 6'5", top physical condition, really good shape. He should be a main focus. And I think taking away the storyline that he's in, even in that's going to help him become a bigger star. I think if they tell that story right, and for the moment they're doing that. And it gives same with Mandy. It gives him a centerpiece. I don't think the poker playing Duke would have got this kind of time on TV.
But even in saying that, the gimmick was a little bit cheesy, but I think he did well with the poker gimmick, to be honest. Because if he didn't, why would they? Yeah, I mean, he's now in more TV time than he was before. So he's obviously gone in there with the right attitude to go, well, I'll do the best I can with it. It was just one of those things that just, to me, honestly, it just didn't resonate. It didn't click.
Yeah, and I think that's hard. Probably in America, it's probably what it probably gets over a bit more. There's lots of people playing poker and want to be World Series poker champions in the States, as opposed to Australia, where it's the same as Australian wrestling. The population size of the fan base is nowhere near as big, so those kind of gimmicks there. And I think it's hard. All right, I'm a poker player, but you lost your first main thing. Are you a shit poker player, or is that your gimmick? Really but no, I think he's destined. He's always been a cool dude. I think he's destined to be a much bigger star than what he currently is, and just keep getting that bigger and bigger presence.
Oh, 100%. Next we saw Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai in a backstage interview. I've got here, they won the NXT tag titles at Stand and Deliver. I've just got here terrible booking decision. Well, look, they had these two, and I'm not sure if you know the history. They had them team. They won the titles and Dusty Classic last year. Dakota turns on Raquel Gonzalez, and then they have a big feud. And then I think it was a month ago, Dakota Kai comes back, wallops Gonzalez in the back with a shovel, and a week ago they're hugging and best friends. there's no consistency for it. And I think that like both these performers, Raquel Gonzalez, WWE is always looking for their big Latin star, someone who they can put into the Spanish markets and really sort of push. I think she is that person.
Yeah.
She is again, like Duke Hudson, looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
can
like
wrestle,
all athletic, has a good match, really gets across with the crowd and that sort of stuff. So yeah, like it's weird the way that they do things. And now, from the looks of it, like jumping ahead a little bit, but it looks like Dakota's going to be the one that gets the first shot at the title, like, which is strange. But I guess it was really weird the way that they did that whole weekend. I knew most of the backstory on it, but yeah, it was really weird that they put them back together, won the belts, and then lost the belts the next day. It's strange, but I'm sure there's a reason that. Well, that's just the beginning of the story, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And and to go into that, like after that, we saw another segment which was Imperium backstage. Bartel wants answers, and Gunter tells him, "Calm down. I'm going to go wrestle for the NXT title tonight and bring prestige." But like, where does that answer what he just what his problem is?
Did you notice? Bartel must be a quick healer. Looked like he didn't have a mark on his body after all that blood in that first match.
You know what? I was looking for. Didn't see any blood because he was like almost covered in blood. Like his face was
like
covered.
He popped his eye open. Yeah, but there's a lot of blood on the other side. Oh, that's the thing I was going to say with the Creeds too, which is interesting. They were doing the whole wipe his blood and licking their hands stuff. So you can imagine they would have been heaps pumped and jazzed about that. But yeah, no, like it's cool. Like it builds that dissension again with Walter and Bartel. So it's like, you wonder then, based on him ragging him out before he has his championship match, is it going to go to the point where, Walter blames him for losing because he distracted him with the bullshit before he had his big title match? So it's just little Easter eggs like that.
100%. It's the little seeds they start dropping into it that really sort of make the show, I think. And but then we saw Toxic Attraction versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championships. I'll let you take it off first, JT. What do you think of this match?
It was just a match. Like I was watching it, and it wasn't like I knew the backstory of it, and then like once they started going towards the end, and working over Raquel's leg, it was interesting. But I didn't pick that they were going to take the belts off them straight away. So that was a bit of a shock. I did not see that coming at all, just based on the storyline that they've been telling. But like I said, maybe it's going to go somewhere else. But match-wise, like there was nothing wrong with it. It was just it was just a match. It wasn't anything that I was like super pumped for, or super excited about, or any hectic spots in there that I saw that I was like, okay. But like I said, I think it's probably just the beginning of telling another story. They did the thing with Wendy Chu coming out, and Mandy cut her off. So yeah, like that was they can justify that like from a heel mentality. But your friend tried to interfere in this match, and I was just stopping her.
But that's kind of like a heel move, isn't it? Like the heel's trying to come out, but the baby face stops. Like
so it's reverse sort of thing. And WWE villains for it as far as going in there and turning old heel stuff into baby face stuff and old baby face stuff into heel stuff. So like it's hard to justify and make sense of some of the stuff they do sometimes. But like I said, I think it's the beginning of something else. Like the only thing that really shocked me was changing the belts. So again, like for a show that I said I haven't watched for ages and probably won't watch regularly, it's definitely given me a lot of things. I'm like, hey, maybe I'll watch this now and this because I'll always rate a good storyline over a great match. It's kind of
sometimes the match has to get sacrificed for the sake of the storyline as well. And you go. Sorry, no, you go.
I was just going to say, like that's like I said, I used to watch OVW. Some of that was terrible, but like they made the characters and the storylines that they were telling way more exciting. So I was like, you could have the worst match on there, but they'd always have at least one or two good matches in that hour. Plus, the storylines were compelling and make you watch. So, this show here, again, it's only the first time I watched it in about a year. But the storylines are compelling. Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe that'll be more interesting to me, and I'll enjoy watching that.
Yeah, look, one of the notes I had here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and tell me what your thoughts on here. I thought Gonzalez sold too much for Dolan and JC Jane. I thought she came off her feet too quick at the beginning of the match. Yeah, I mean, like, she's one of the biggest, women on the roster.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, make them earn that, to take you down. You know what I mean? Like, give that presence of you are that bigger than them. You know what I mean? Sell that part of the storyline, which I think that they neglected to do.
I think that it would have added more at the end when they chop blocked her and actually took her down. But it's like, they've been trying to get her down. They've been trying to get her down. Oh, the dirty heels took out her knee from behind, and that finally got her down, and that's what's helped them get the victory. Rather than just taking bumps during the match. I think like when we get to the other match later on, the girls there, like bigger than half the guys on the roster. They work big people style, and probably Raquel could have got out of that too. But I think for what the match was and what it ended up being, it probably told the right story. But I think it would have meant more if she had been less giving of her body and time.
I will say this. I've never really been a big fan of Dakota Kai. Nothing against her. It's just like anytime I've seen a wrestler, I've just hasn't been something that resonated with me.
That's
this match,
PWWA champion we're talking about there.
Well, my apologies, but wrestling's subjective. So I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not saying she's a bad wrestler. I'm just saying, as a fan, I don't resonate with it. But I actually I really enjoyed her in this match. I love that roll she did off the top turnbuckle over the top of the opponent. I thought that was really cool. Her kicks looked better than what they were. Gonzalez, as I said, he gave Toxic Attraction too much. Near the end of the match, to me, which was the biggest standout, where I just went, ooh, was when Dolan literally runs across the ring, walks straight past the opponent laying in the middle of the ring, makes the tag, goes back into the ring, picks up Gonzalez, and then does the finish of the match. I'm just going, again, NXT, this is the place where they learn that. It's like and she almost looked like she sprinted across the room, the ring, sorry, to tag in. I just went,
It probably would be now, like it is. Like we've got young kids that learn how to do their matches and that sort of stuff as well, and ring positionings, always a thing that people struggle with early, and whether it's running the ropes, and especially in a tag match as well, when you got that extra element of someone being on the outside, and you don't want to look like an idiot running right towards that rope where that person's standing and that sort of stuff. The same is if you do something and end up on the wrong side, like your instant reaction, especially when you're early in, is like, oh shit, and then you speed and rush. Could this be something like that? Like this learning sort of thing. But I think that's going to happen on these shows when you've got people who never had only 1 year experience and they're working national TV. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what the thing is as well, like you put the human element into it as well. Like they're people. This is what they've wanted to do their entire lives. The nerves, fuck ups happen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure the best wrestlers in the world have had matches where they've had things happen and hadn't go their way, and it's just like, just part of it.
Like, and I think it's the way you're staging it out too, because like they're not only working to the live crowd, they're also working to the camera. So maybe whatever it was when they walked through the match, for whatever reason, they said that, hey, this is the better way to do it, and go through there. But like, I thought it was all right. I thought there was some cool stuff in there. And like, that's interesting about like what you're saying about with Dakota too, because that used to be her gimmick. Her kicks were her gimmick.
I thought that was great.
And so she used to team kick, I think it was, that she used to work with, and that was like her thing. She used to have those big kicks in the corners and lots of stuff. And it's just changing up this stuff. Like it's a while ago now, but I thought she did really well. being I hadn't seen her, and that the jump over into the schoolboy, it's cool.
Yeah. But even like afterwards as well, like, and I'm skipping 2 segments to get this because I just want to cover Dakota while we're on her. But backstage when she was throwing shit around, that to me, like, even like the promos where I've seen of her, like, I just like, for me, it just wasn't anything connected for me. I was just like, okay, she's part of the show. But that part of that show where all she said was, "Mandy Rose, you are not safe."
Yeah.
That one line that she did made me a Dakota Kai fan, because the intensity that she gave there, it made me give a shit. Yeah. I'll be honest. Like, it made me go, okay, cool. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I said. Like, I think from the match, like, it tells like a good story. Having that at the end where you're like, hang on a minute, she's just come back the week before, started teaming with her best friend again, won the tag titles. Now she's lost the tag titles. The friend got a knee taken out. Not worry about the friend, Mandy. I'm coming for you, who hit my other friend.
I'm coming for the belt.
Yeah. So it's that's going to be cool. Like, that'll be a good match. Like to see what they turn that into and where it goes. Like I said, I really reminiscing on it. It's really some good storytelling that they've done on there.
Oh, absolutely. And next part of the show was Tony D'Angelo suited up with AJ Galante. This whole segment, like having him come out to become a made guy, I think went over the head of the fucking audience. I don't think that the live crowd understood what the fuck was going on, because they were chanting, "This is boring."
Yeah, I don't think it was that. I think like AJ, like, and anyone who hasn't seen it, go out and watch that documentary. It's hilarious. I'm trying to think what it's called, but AJ Galante's in this documentary where it's about his dad basically brought a B grade ice hockey team, and all around the city. They built them around the city, and like there was rumors that he was all mobbed up and all this sort of stuff. Really, really good doco. If you're into it, go check it out. And that's why I popped big when I saw him on the show. I popped big for it. But yeah, he just had no personality. So I think that didn't help. And then also, like, they're doing this ritual that it's supposed to be top secret. No one's supposed to know about it. He even put it on there, like, you should never tell anyone about what happens here today. And it's like you're in the middle of a wrestling ring on national TV, and it's like, I get that there's a suspend your disbelief, but like some of that was there, and it just went long. Like, and you could tell, and I felt so bad for him because I've done it a million times. Anyone that's seen me, he forgot his lines. You could tell he forgot his lines. You could tell. You could tell that he forgot his lines, and D'Angelo was trying to lip read it to him, and that's why you could see the cameras were cutting away and all that sort of stuff, so he could try and give it to him. But I felt really bad for him because I've been in that situation before. It sucks so bad.
I actually saw that because he was like, he got lost. But that segment to me would have been better if they didn't do it in the ring. They filmed that segment in a fucking dark room, one single light, make it look like he's about to go and get made. You could even do the whole thing of the prick of the finger and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, tell the story of it. Whereas like the live crowd, I don't think many NXT fans are probably Mafia fans, right? So you know what I mean? Like, it's a different generation now. But it's like, I don't know, man. But like, but to me, it's like I don't think the crowd understood what was going on. And plus, put in there AJ, who's not a wrestler, not a manager, not someone who's in the business and getting lost in the moment, probably didn't help it at all.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if AJ wakes up tomorrow morning with a horse's head in his bed, exposing the mafia business on national TV like that. It was, like, I think it's, I 100% agree. I think if they had 100%, if they had done that in a dark room and set it up, then even though you're watching on the TV, you would be like, all right, cool. Like, it'd be the same as watching any other TV show. Doing it in front of a live crowd is like, all right, this isn't the ceremony, like, where you're making a guy a made man or anything like that. So it's a bit weird.
But it could have been so much cooler because I think as well they not exposed it, but they could have like done it in a cinematic way. the crowd, you're not having the crowd chants. I think they could have got more out of doing it as a pre-recorded thing, but it is what it is. I think, did they get across what they wanted to get across? Like, do you think Tony D'Angelo now, the Don of NXT, like, do you look at this guy now and go, he's now the main eventer because he beat Tommaso Ciampa and he called himself the Don?
I knew a wrestler called the Don. It's probably better than him. So that's good. Tony D'Angelo. But yeah, no, like, I don't know. Like, I think like, as far as like, again, watching it from a storyline point of view and not judging the quality of it or anything like that, I think it got across that, like, it came across a bit hokey to me, like, as far as, and I know I'm someone who watches a lot of mafia movies and that sort of stuff as well, and grew up on them. So, when you see it like that, it's done poorly. It resonates that way. And I think it's hard, but I think as far as it's trying to tell the story, and then when they did the promo afterwards, they sort of set up, someone must have been watching a lot of GTA. You had the mafia guy versus the
Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah, against the guy out of
the cartel leader.
Cartel, that's the one I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So that's cool. And again, like, storyline wise, okay, what's that mean? Like, is D'Angelo going to start his own faction now as well? And he'll have some sidekicks. We're going to bring back Johnny Mamaluke.
You know what I reckon? I reckon they bring in like Big Vito Lagrasso. They bring in who was it? Nunzio, who wrestled as Little Guido. Like, bring back. Let's bring back the FBI. All right.
That'd be something. I think they get JT Smith. That seeing them do that gimmick in 2022, I'd be all down.
Mate, so would I. But next we saw a backstage interview with MSK. Nash Carter of MSK has kind of been in the headlines in the last week. His wife, a strange wife, Kimberly, has come out with some pretty serious accusations about assault. Nothing that has really been substantial proof. Like she took photos of a bruise on her, I think, above her left eye. But how could you say that he was the one that did it? I don't know. But the MSK backstage promo, these guys are kind of enjoyable. I feel like they kind of made him a little bit goofy, and it's kind of hard to take him serious as champions. But what they do in the ring is phenomenal. I think they do great stuff in the ring. I just think their character, to me, is just like. But again, I'm an almost 40-year-old man. Am I the demographic that MSK is trying to get as their fan base? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many 40-year-old dudes are rocking MSK shirts? But they get interrupted by Grayson and Sunger. Grayson has got his arm in a sling, obviously from what happened. This interaction was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Seeing, now Grayson and Sunger looking to go more in the tag sort of side of things. And this comes back to what I was saying about Sunger. Please don't put him in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, the time he has been in the ring, I feel like they exposed him. Obviously, tag team is a lot different. And someone like Grayson Waller, who could, phenomenal worker, that could absolutely carry that. But what do you think about that segment with MSK and Grayson Sunger?
Yeah, so I've only seen MSK a couple of times. And the stuff with they were the ones that did the stuff with Riddle, where Riddle was like, So I saw that stuff there, and like out of the ring, it was pretty cool. I can't think off the top of my head when I've seen him in an actual match, other than just the promos for that. But yeah, no, like I think the point is valid about the Sanja. I can't speak.
Sunger.
But Sunger, that's one. But I think it's valid. But I think putting him in a tag match with Waller and having him do most of the work, and then have him coming in just to the big man stuff, is going to be good. And that if you do a few of those, like, obviously he's not the worker that Kevin Nash was. People show Nash, but Nash was a good worker for the big man style that he worked. But if you get into that sort of role where he's coming in there just being the heavy dude, the cleanup for Waller, and then over time, again, the more matches that he does, the more he puts in, and that sort of stuff, it can lead to something. And then again, back to our original conversation about what WWE do with tag teams. If you get that over enough to where he's doing it, they become tag champs. I don't think they should do that straight away. Like, it's weird that putting him straight in with the tag champs, but if you rush everything. But yeah, you can end up telling a really good story there.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I don't really want to see Grayson and Sanger as a tag team. I think Sanger as the heater on the outside is probably a good spot until they finally split them. I just think Grayson, the character of Grayson Waller is very self-centered. Like, it's on him. He's the star. Whereas, like, you can't really see a character like that in a tag team unless it's like two of the same characters saying we are the star. But I feel like
I don't know, but if you look at like, and that was an awesome shirt that Grayson was wearing, by the way. But if you look at like when Michaels and Diesel were together, sort of thing, he's heavy, and it was all about Shawn as well. Like all Shawn stuff is about he's a star and all sort of stuff, and Diesel's just a guy in the background. And then when they won the belts, it came a little bit more about Diesel, and then and that sort of stuff. So like I think you can really tell that story and drag it out. But Grayson is still the feature. He's the main thing, and he's still self-centered and worried about himself until he no longer has a use for the big guy, and or the big guy no longer has a use for him, depending which way they go with it. But yeah, no, I thought other than rushing it and putting it straight there, I would have started it somewhere else rather than this with the tag, because then you're going to lose. But let's see where it goes.
Oh, 100%. Then we saw Lash Legend versus Nikita Lyons. This match I was looking forward to because both these women are like absolute Amazons. And to be honest, like the match wasn't disappointing. There was just certain parts in the match that looked a little bit going. Lyons threw a spinning back kick that way off.
But the camera didn't see it.
It was right in front of the camera, like the angle, and you've seen like Lash going, like you could literally sit there and watch your watch and count down and see her.
I must be thinking of the second one because there's one there where they definitely changed the camera angle on it. That must have been the second one then because they must have seen it. But I know that was the second one, but it didn't look as bad because they changed the camera angle. But yeah, like it's the first time I've seen either of them in a match. I enjoyed it from the aspect of like anytime with two big ladies or two big men just beating the shit out of each other or attempting to look like they're beating the shit out of each other.
100%.
I think the camera angles probably took away from some of that. That's why I really hate those sharp cuts sometimes. I know why they're doing it, so it's in the air, but I think also you miss out on that impact. Like that's what I like about New Japan. They film it like sport. So when they come in and throw a forearm, you actually see it hit. And it looks good, but
exactly right. You know what? My thing with this match, and I'm going to pick the same thing that I picked on it last week when with Nikita Lyons' match. Her finish when she does the split and the drop, that is the second week in a row where they have fucking dropped the fucking ball as far as camera angles go. The week before, she's selling to the hard cam. Like she does the move, she's looking directly at there, and they've got the camera on the side. This one, the camera was in the weirdest fucking position. Why not just have that is the perfect finishing move for a hard cam shot to get. You see the whole thing. And just I don't know. I was actually on another NXT podcast with a couple of the guys from Hameen Media Group. And these guys are a couple of veterans like yourself. And they turn around and they had a theory as to why. They go, you know what it is? Someone backstage has tried to put the moves on Nikita Lyons. She's gone, it's not going to happen. And this is them fucking with her. I'm like, really? Like what? Okay, you heard that theory. You've heard what me explain the situation here with the finish 2 weeks.
I would like to think, I like to think, and I'm not being sarcastic at all about this. I'd like to think that kind of shit doesn't happen anymore. I know it probably does, but especially in that company, I'd like to think that sort of stuff doesn't happen. But yeah, no, I think it's more just like we talked about before. These guys are not only is the wrestling people learning. I think some of the production crews probably relatively new as well. It's not their 18 that are doing Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Could be, but I don't think it is. And so they're just learning how to shoot different things with wrestling as well. And like I said, I'll judge anyone's production after I see how crappy I do on the weekend. But but I think, yeah, I think it's that. I think you're probably dealing with some people that haven't watched wrestling before. They might have done sports, or they might have done film, and that sort of stuff. And they're looking at it from that angle, like Ben Anderson explained to me once about when you're shooting wrestling, you don't want to go if you got one camera this side, one camera that side, and one camera in the middle. You don't want to be shooting frontwards and then going back the other way. Something about the blocking and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not technical.
Yeah.
Lucky I'm going to do the show. But yeah, like you don't want to be jumping those cameras around like that. And like you can see on this sort of stuff, like just all the zooms, everything else. They're just trying different shit to try and see what works. I'd like to think that it's nothing as sinister as that.
Oh, look, man, I'm with you, JT, to be honest. Like, because when they said it, my mind didn't even go there last week when I was on there. And I'm like, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning our time. And then I'm sitting there, these guys are going, yeah, this is what's happening. I'm like, what the fuck? That wasn't in my notes. Like, how'd you come to that conclusion, boys?
No, it was the 80s or the 90s. And I'm like, all right, maybe. But like, why would they even put it on TV? The thing was the barrier and all that sort of stuff. Like, you don't bury someone by putting them on TV and giving them exposure to win a match on your on your TV program.
My only thing with Lyons is I know she came, I think, from Shimmer. Well, she has a background. She's wrestled for Shimmer, but to me, it's almost looked like there's moments with her where she looks like a deer in headlights. Like at the start of the match, like she looks impressive. Her entrance is impressive, finishing is impressive, but there's certain moments between the start of the match and the end of the matches, or at the beginning and end of the match, I should say. There's moments where the camera catches her and she doesn't know what to do. So it's almost like, Talladega Nights. Put your hands down, Nikita. You know what I mean? Like she just looks like, and I don't know if it's something that they just need to work on with her, a bit more of that presence.
It's probably gonna be a lot of people, right? Like, so like we're really spoiled, like here with the PWA events, but we're live streaming our events. We've got a really talented crew, so all of our guys when they eventually make it to NXT, because they will. There's 5 of them there now. We'll see more. They're used to working in front of the camera and knowing where to look for their spots and talking to the camera crew and all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think some of these people, they've only done house shows where they've been filmed for DVD and that sort of stuff. You're not really realizing that as much. Or it could just be like that could be the direction that you give it from whoever is. It's putting your match together and say, this is how we want you to look. This is what we want you to do. It could be that scripted that they're doing that. But like it gets better with time. You get more confident. The more matches you have, the more confident you get in what you're doing.
Oh, 100%. Now the next we saw was Gunter versus Braun Breaker for the NXT title. Mate, I'm gonna let you take it away. What do you think of it?
You missed the most important part. Jacket time von Wagner.
Yes.
They had that goofy promo about how he tore his jacket and ruined him. And they let it was cool. I thought that was cool. But like the match itself, Walter and Braun Breaker, like it was cool. They just beat the shit out of each other for 10, 15 minutes. Braun really didn't like Walter's chops, and having been ringside when Walter has chopped someone before, I would not like them either. They are terrible, in the best possible way. Terrible. But you could really
terrible to receive.
Oh, absolutely. You could definitely tell towards after there had been like 4 or 5 of them, Braun was definitely not opening up his body to take them nicely.
I think he cut him off, didn't he?
Yeah, a few times I think. Like he just really protected his chest, but yeah, like it was cool. Like, I didn't mention at the start too. So that's the first time I've seen Walter in a while as well. So he's like all leaned up and everything compared to what he was
He's
before.
looking good.
Yeah, really good, really good. But yeah, like I liked it. It was just 2 guys beating the shit out of each other. Solid match. Nothing there that I thought was like that was out of place. I like the way they told the story. Walter's gone up and done like he's had the resort. His power moves aren't working. He's gone up to the top rope and did the splash. Braun kicked out of the splash, and then he's gone for it again and taken the spear and they've gone home off that. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really good TV main event type match. it didn't look like it was leading anywhere else because the main story for Walter at the moment, or Gunter, is obviously the Imperium stuff. But it leans more into that, and then it leaves Braun open to do whatever he's going to do next as well, which is good. Which is looking like,
to be honest, I wouldn't be mad at a Braun Breaker versus Walter feud. To be honest, after that match,
I think it would definitely be the better option than where it is going. I don't know how Braun and Gacy are going to go, but again, I haven't seen Gacy wrestle for since his first couple of matches on NXT. But the storyline.
Go and check out some of Gacy's work, like that he did in the Indies. The guy is a really, really good worker, and you don't expect it from his body shape, like how he comes out. Like he's lost a fair bit of weight now, but before, like you just look at him and go, really? Like but he honestly, even for the longest time, has been a really solid worker. I agree with you. I think Braun Breaker versus Gunter was a phenomenal match. Good TV match, good way to send the crowd home happy. I think the belly to belly that Gunter took was fucking phenomenal. Like, mate, Gunter was fucking airborne.
I saw him do that. And I was just thinking, like, I'm surprised they still letting guys do that move after what happened with Big E. But but because normally they're really protective of, like, if someone gets hurt doing something, no one else can do that move. But it was good. Like, and that's what I like. Like, that's the kind of wrestling I grew up on. Is just big guys doing that sort of stuff. Like, not all the stuff, but I think they just tell a really good story. But he's trying to go out and win that match, and it's something that they can finish on the show. He came out at the start. It's like going to a house show here. Like, the bad guy comes out at the start, challenges the champion. They set up a match later on, and they finish it. They tell that one story match, which I thought was really good for the show.
No, I think it really was. I think it was a good match to end the show, and also the Gacy thing at the end of it with Haaland. Having Rick Steiner in a cage but also the way that it was like Rick Steiner's like, congratulations, son, I'm really proud of you. And then it spans out, hey, I'm in a fucking cage being held hostage. Yeah. Like, I don't know about you, man, but if I'm being held hostage by a big fucking dude like fucking Haaland, it looks like he's going to prison rape me. Fucking Gacy, I'm going to be like, yeah, bro, awesome on the match. Can you come and get me the fuck out of here, please?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've got Pulp Fiction written down on my notes because that was the kind of vibe that I got. Like, it was like, bring out the gimp. It was but it was just funny, like that, or flashbacks to Heidenreich and Snitsky. But it was that was a weird one. Like, but they threatened you to say good match and drop that verbiage on the crowd. But it was interesting. And again, it's something that it's like, all right, cool, I might watch next week's show just to see what happens with that. How's Rick reacting? Where's it going to go to, and that sort of stuff. But I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. And like I said, the whole show just built to next week's show. Which is good. Which is what you need to do. Like, you need to make shows follow up on each other, not try and solve everything in a one show. Like, it's what Raw sort of became for a long time. They're trying to make it episodic TV, like NYPD Blue, where there's everything starts at the beginning and everything ends. Dating myself now saying that show, but everything starts in the beginning and ends by the episode. By the time they get to the third hour, everything's all resolved and sorted. And then why do you want to come back next week and watch it? This was really good at making you want to come back and watch next week.
No, 100%. And I feel like obviously Raw is like that, where it's like nowadays you don't really, between one storyline, like maybe a couple of the storylines, the rest is just like filler.
Yeah.
Whereas like you go back to our time, growing up watching wrestling, it was like everything was a story. There was a story going on with Al Snow over here with the Big Boss Man. Austin's having a feud with Rikishi and Triple H here. You got the, I mean, there was always multiple stories going on, and they never got confusing to the point where it's like, oh no.
And that's the kind of wrestling like that's what I like. Like I said earlier, like the in-ring stuff isn't the most important thing to me. It's good, like it has to be good. You can sit there and watch it. But having a really good storyline behind it is way better.
No, definitely, I agree. But that has been NXT Roundup for the week. JT, thank you for being our guest host for this week. It's been an absolute pleasure. You have an open invitation to come and join us anytime you want to watch NXT and come and talk shit about NXT. Not talk shit about NXT, but talk shit and talk NXT with me. So
I'm one of these really bad episodes and join in.
Yeah, exactly. But anytime you want to do it, guys, as well, just want to say huge shout outs to our sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeps.com. Use promo code MWAPod. Get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Australian time, which is 8 p.m. USA Eastern, as Knights of the Gimmick Table with the Dead Presidents and Cade Lothbrock are sitting down with Lucky 13, Deathmatch legend, CCW Game Changer legend. So make sure you tune in for that. You will not want to miss. Make sure you catch Killing the Business with Kingpin Angel Medina and King Mega this Saturday at 10 a.m. Australian time, which is 8 p.m. Friday night, USA Eastern. You don't want to miss those shows, guys. But without further ado, JT, again, thank you for being on the show this week. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I can put everyone to sleep.
Not at all, my friend. But till then, guys, we'll see you again very soon. All the best. Take care. See you next week.